How you doing? Saren here with another video. Today, spring, and a lot more vehicles coming in with no AC, and majority of the time it's normally a leak, and finding those leaks can be difficult. If you're in the same boat, I'm going to show you a couple tricks that I use to find those leaks, diagnose them, and replace whatever is leaking. So there's a couple ways to do that, but I'm going to show you the easiest and the method that I use the most often is just grab a little flashlight. I got this nice little pen flashlight, and I go over all the hoses, service ports, compressor, any sensors or any other valves that you have on your AC system. First, let me go over how the AC system works. So right down here, you can see the pulley, but we got the AC compressor, and there's normally two lines. Well, there's always two lines that go to the AC compressor, the high side and the low side. So what happens is the AC compressor, as it's spinning, is taking from the low side, and this is that low side. So the AC compressor takes from the low side, pressurizes the Freon, and then pushes it through the high side. And that high side line actually is right here. Let me get away from that. So once it goes through the line of the high side, it goes into the condenser, where it will come out and normally go to the firewall, or this is a metering valve right here, but you might have an orifice tube. So it'll go through here, go through the metering valve, and once that hits that metering valve, it causes a major restriction in the system, and it'll then create the coolness. That's where the pressure differential comes from, right there. And it'll go through your evaporator core, and it'll come down through this line and go back into your AC compressor, and continually goes around and around and around, creating that differential pressure, which in turn creates the coolness. I'm not sure if coolness is a word, but we'll just go with it. So the most leaks that I see, and the most leaks that are looked off upon, people don't find them, are actually your service port valves. There's your low side, and this is a Chevy Colorado, but this pertains to any year, make, and model running R134A refrigerant. So there's your two service ports, and there's actually valves in there that leak, and they can be kind of hard to see. What I like to do is put a little bit of oil in there, a little bit of AC oil, and I'll show you when I do that what you might see if that valve itself is leaking. So I went ahead, I took my PAG 46 oil, and I just poured it and filled up that cavity where the valve is. Let me see if I can, there you go. And what you'll see is you'll see bubbles starting to come out of that valve, and there you are. There's our bubble. Let me get the camera real steady. There you go. Ever so slightly, we'll have bubbles coming out. Depends upon how bad the leak is, but bubbles will start to form out. Go ahead and do your high side and your low side. I'm going to do that. And that's not a huge leak, but that definitely is a leak. We definitely are having a leak there. So that's probably the most common leak that I see on AC systems, are these Schrader valves. Second are going to be the compressor, and I'll show you what to look for on the compressor and your other lines. Here we are underneath the vehicle, getting a little bit better look at the AC compressor, and where you're going to want to look is after the AC clutch, which is right there. You have a seal inside here. It's your main shaft seal. That's your most common leak on AC compressors, and then the AC compressor is comprised of multiple sections, and there's O-rings and seals within those sections that seal those sections up. So what you're gonna be looking for with your flashlight is just wetness. I don't really see nothing down here. I don't see a whole lot. There's a little something there, nothing conclusive though. So what we're gonna do now is inject a dye into the system and let it run, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, there's many ways to inject dye into a system, but this is the easiest and cheapest way, the way that I do it. Go down to O'Reilly's or Napa and buy yourself a little pressurized can of R134A leak, UV leak dye, and run you about 10 bucks. Pretty easy. Read the instructions, and this can is good up to 5 vehicles, so kind of handy to have. A lot cheaper than going to a mechanic and having them this might be what they're doing, I don't know, but this is definitely what I recommend doing. This goes in your low pressure port, and with the vehicle running, you're just going to hold it down, and you'll actually hear it go into your system. Hold it down for a couple seconds. Once you have the dye in your system, you're going to want to go ahead and introduce R134A back into your AC system. There's multiple ways of doing that. I got a manifold kit, hose manifold kit that I add AC in all of the trucks here at work. If you don't have an AC manifold hose kit, don't worry. There's other ways to add Freon. I'm going to show you how. Go down to O'Reilly's, Napa, CarQuest, Advanced, Pep Boys, and they have these nice Freon kits with a hose that hooks up to your low side port and a nice little pressure gauge to tell you how much pressure you need and everything like that. So that's a nice little do-it-yourself. I really don't use these much because I am 609 certified by the EPA. I mean, I got a 30-pound jug right there, which is quite nice. A little bit cheaper route to go. So go ahead, fill your system, let it run for 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes, and allow that dye to go in your system and find that leak. Once you do, we're gonna go ahead and hook up our UV light. Now, I got a pretty large light here, but you definitely don't need something this big to find the UV dye. At O'Reilly's, they have little pen flashlights or whatever. Those work great too. So just keep in mind you don't need a big old honking 3 LED UV light. But this one helps because I'm working on a lot of big rigs and stuff like that, and it's just handy to have. So once we have our system full and our system running and our AC's gone through the system with the dye and it's mixed well, it's always best to be in a garage or somewhere at night where the sun's not out. Dye is activated with UV light. The sun is a source of UV light, and it can kind of distort our findings. So get in a garage or a darker place where you can get your light on, and it'll be a lot easier to look. Another area that's really common for leaks are these metal hoses. Right where the crimp is, it turns to rubber, and after time they might vibrate loose or come loose. So look for wet areas around there, maybe anywhere where it's rubbed up against something. One common area where a leak might be is your condenser core, which is down here. It looks like a radiator. It actually sits in front of your radiator. There's your receiver dryer, and there are some seals on there. Don't see anything coming from there. It all looks pretty good and dry. If you need to remove your grill or any front fascia, go ahead and do that. It's going to save you time and money. Of course, one area behind this service, or not service valve, but this fixed valve right here is your evaporator core. That's actually inside your vehicle. If you can easily access it, go ahead, see if it's dry. I know mine's definitely not coming from in here, but your leak could be coming from your evap core, and those are costly. I'll show you what we're looking for here. This isn't a leak. This is where I added in the dye. You can see how vibrant that dye becomes in the UV flashlight. Really is a good clear indicator of where a leak is, but that's not it. We're gonna go underneath the vehicle and inspect the AC compressor now. All right, well, underneath the AC compressor, and I don't know if you could pick that up, but I do have some dye on the bottom here. Looks like our leak is coming from that shaft seal, so we're gonna need an AC compressor here, but there's where it is. It is bright. That's nice to know. Takes a lot of guesswork out of it when you know exactly where it's coming from. I really hope this video was a big help to you. I know what it feels like to be helpless at a mechanic shop, and they're telling you need all these crazy things, but it turns out it's just something simple. So I want to make this video to help those out there who don't have experience working on cars. If you do have experience on working on cars, how do you find AC leaks? I'm always open ears, and I'm always for having a conversation, and I'm always for learning new things, easier ways to do things. My way is not the best. This isn't the only way to do things, but this is the way that I've learned to do things, and let me hear from you. Please like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you guys think. Have a good one.